Hey guys, what's going on? Teo Vanyo here, and I'm very, very excited to present to you today basically the creator of Flashcoin. Okay, so I'm doing this review video with him, and what we're doing tonight is we're doing this Q&A, questions and answers. Okay, so there's been a lot of questions within the Flash community. Okay, and I'm going to uncover that with Chris tonight. Um, all of your questions that you have, and I have a list of questions here and just really excited about this Flash coin and the development that's been happening and all these cool things that are happening. So the title of this video is basically Flash versus Bitcoin. Okay, can this replace PayPal? Now, thinking about the future, thinking about e-commerce, thinking about as you guys, most of you guys that are watching this, you're probably doing e-commerce. Coming from my crowd, you guys are understanding that transaction fees can be enormous. I've had months where we were paying $10,000 in transaction fees and credit card transaction fees, right? So this Flashcoin technology, basically in a nutshell, allows us to basically transact in pennies. Okay, so imagine you made $100 sale in e-commerce, and then your merchant takes 3 5 bucks, which is what a lot of us are seeing right now. With Flashcoin, if we utilize this, we can do transactions of up to a penny. And so this is the reason why I have the title on this video. Um, can this replace PayPal? Right? I mean, it's just crazy to think about with all these new technologies that are coming out and everything else like that. All right, so I do have Chris Kitze. Very very excited to bring him on with us to basically talk about Flashcoin and to help answer some questions. So let me go bring him on here. Chris, can you hear me all right?
Yeah, I hear you just fine. Thanks for having me here on your broadcast today.
Awesome. Good to have you. We're really excited. I mean, half the community, like what we were watching in the Discord channel, like everyone was just excited about this interview. So Chris, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and basically what is Flashcoin? So that's the first question, right? What is
Yeah.
Flashcoin? What does it do? And what's the main purpose of this coin?
So about myself, I've been doing technology companies for probably a long time, probably since before a lot of guys out there were born. I started in tech in 1984. I've had a variety of companies. Some did great, some were okay, and some got buried. They died and got buried. But um, but the thing I've learned over the last what is that, 30 plus years is there's always something new that's coming out. But I will say this about crypto. I've never seen anything as exciting as crypto. I've never seen anything that can empower people and give people the power back like crypto. So that's the start off. Is my background is in chemical engineering, which has nothing to do with computers. But I got into computers many years ago, and I don't write code. I used to. The last program I wrote was for an IBM PC, and so I'm like a dinosaur for that.
Wow.
But I really enjoy. I especially enjoy communities because I built one of the largest web communities in the first days of the .com era, which was the original Zoom.com, not the Zoom.com payment company, which ended up taking the domain from General Electric,
Right.
but the actual original one. And we were number 13 in the world in
Wow.
terms of traffic. So we're used to building large scale kind of things. And the other thing about it is that we don't take big venture capital money. We do it from individual people who want to help support this kind of idea, and so you end up with a little bit different of a community. You end up with people who are enthusiastic to be there. They weren't paid to be there. They want to be there, and there's a it's not just about the money. It's about the what we're going to do to help people. And I think when we talk later about your the merchant and the payment application, and I start going through how the banking system has evolved to the point where it's basically this huge monster tax on all merchants, and of course the consumers always end up paying for it. So it's not just it's not just the merchants are paying, because merchants just pass it along to the consumers.
Right.
So why do we start Flashcoin? Well, we started out doing a product called Safe Cash, and everyone's seen this this announcement with FTI. We'll get to that in a few minutes, but the original company that we started was Safe Cash, and we said, let's take blockchain technology and make it so that it can work for banks. And the only problem we ran into was banks didn't want it. Banks, they have a lot of issues with a lot of the regulations. They're very slow to adopt things. Basically, they'll do it after someone else tells them to do it. There are a few early adopters, and there are a lot of good people in banking too. I don't want to say anything bad about all the people in banking because there are a lot of good people there. But when you look at what a blockchain can do, it's all of a sudden you say, wow, you don't need half of this stuff anymore because it's just going direct person to person. Fundamentally, that's what Flashcoin is about. It's about making it so that an individual person can send to another individual person or business as simply as PayPal. So what we did was we said, let's take the blockchain technology. The first thing that we didn't care for about it was we like Bitcoin a lot. I don't want to say anything bad about Bitcoin, but what's happened is if you look at the way that the project is governed and you look at how much power the miners have, they basically determine everything.
Right.
And so we said, that's okay. And it was great when transaction fees were 10 cents and 20 cents. But what happened was they kept jacking up the fees. The demand started getting bigger. They wouldn't increase the block size. They just kept going, and it's just basically like they're milking it. And then what happens is, of course, because of concentration, you end up with anything. Some people are good at some things, and other people aren't as good. And the people who are good end up with all the business, and the people who aren't as good end up going and doing something else. And that's pretty much what happened with mining. I mean, everyone in the early days of Bitcoin, everyone could go and mine coins, and it was a lot of fun. And I mean, although I will admit, I tried mining in 2011 and let my computer, fired it up, loaded all the software, did everything, and it just sat there and ran for like a week. And I had like 20 cents worth of Bitcoin, which of course is probably $3,000 now, but some tiny amount of Bitcoin. And then I looked at the power bill. I calculated it out, and I used $20 worth of power.
Holy cow!
I'm here in California. This is not a good place to do Bitcoin mining.
Right. Yeah.
I can tell you that.
Yeah.
So
I can see
yeah.
that.
So what ended up happening is we started looking at the problem, and I have some of my software engineers I've worked with for a number of years. And I said, well, let's solve this problem so that we can make it so that we don't have to do as much mining. We can still secure the blockchain. We can still have a decentralized blockchain because we need that for legal compliance. If you look at Bitcoin, what's the genius of Bitcoin is they solved two major problems. They solved the Byzantine general problem, which is when you have rogue nodes and they fake each other out and you don't know who's telling the truth. And the second thing is, and that's useful for confirming transactions. And the second problem is, of course, double spending. So they solved that problem. We wanted to retain that kind of heritage. We wanted a certain amount of compatibility with the code. And so the obvious answer is you do just exactly the same thing Litecoin did to Bitcoin, which is you just make a fork, or you just actually just copy the code over and make your changes to it, and then go and do the blockchain. What we decided to do that was a little different, because we don't really have any mining. We do have mining, but not much to speak of. We decided that from a compliance point of view, and we first of all did everything in Canada. The second thing is, and no U.S. people involved. I have companies in a couple different countries, so I can do things from outside the U.S. through a company. And same with other people probably, but no one from the U.S. participated in the first go around. We sold Mega Flash coin, and that was a counterparty asset. We raised 112 Bitcoins. That was it, which compared to all the ICOs people are doing now is like a drop in the bucket. And we didn't want to raise jillions of dollars. We didn't want to have to go spend a bunch of money on marketing. We just said this is community grassroots, and so we never did an ICO. And the other thing that was great about this, I think, was we made the decision early on. We all got together and we said, how are we going to take care of these coins? We decided to pre-mine it. It's because we didn't have any mining, so we have to distribute the coin somehow. And we thought, well, should we keep some coins for the company? There's no, back then there was a company. and we said, should we, obviously all the developers and everybody else said, oh, well, can we get some coins for ourselves? And I thought about it, and I said, I think everybody should be a donor and no free coins. And that's actually a very hard choice to make. I think it's the right choice. The project that's probably guided us the most is Monero. And we really like what those guys have done. Fluffy Pony Ricardo has done a terrific job, and you can see it. He doesn't promote it. He doesn't hype it or pump it. He just lets it grow naturally, and we agreed with that philosophy. So, people ask me in the Discord room, well, what's happening today? Is there anything that's gonna, they're hoping for some little nugget that they can go and post on some message board. We won't do that. Because we don't want people to lose money. It's that simple. It's not an honorable thing to do. You see some of these coins get pumped and they go up like a huge amount and then they just come right back down to earth. And someone bought at the top tick, and then they're going to be bag holding, and who knows, maybe it'll never go back up, and maybe it hit terminal valuation that time. And that's something we are trying to avoid.
Gotcha.
So then as far as the actual mechanics of the coin, we put it in a number of, people ask, your nodes are in data centers. Well, yeah, they are, because that's the best place to put a node. The days of home mining are over. If you look at Bitcoin, where are all the Bitcoin nodes right now? They're in data centers. Right. And, that's the reality, is that, when you start to transfer a lot of data and you start to have requirements for power, you want reliable power, reliable communications. Quite frankly, your home data line is it's pretty fast. And I mean, if you have a fiber like a Fios line or something back on the East Coast of the U.S., you can do a pretty good job. But, who's to keep someone from kicking the power cord out of the wall, or, someone comes to do cleaning and they unplug it, then they don't know, and, and the vacuum gets plugged in, right? We've seen that a million times. So to make it reliable, we didn't want to have a mining reward. So there's no mining reward right now. It's set to zero. Coins were all pre-mined. They were all distributed. There's no inflation. So if you look at the characteristics of the coin, we gave it all away when the value was zero. We solved all the money transmission law issues because of that. No one owns or controls it. We decided to take the company that did the development work for it, that had taken the code from SafeCash, and this was originally designed to be a loyalty coin. So what's it built for? Fast and cheap transactions. Now, it turns out that you can also send large transactions, and they're still cheap. Right. But the point is that we wanted to make this kind of a platform that people could build applications on. And the purpose is to do things and we never claim any value to the coin. There is none. We don't know. It could be it's zero for all anybody knows. People ascribe a value to it on a market because, maybe they want some and they can't get it and they can't mine it. So they have to go and buy it from somebody else. That's how it works. So what we did was the first thing we built was a web wallet. And we think that's important because people don't necessarily want to download something. They want to, get to know about something without having to invest and, get a commitment, so that they don't have to install a bunch of software and, download a whole blockchain and all that. So we built that. We talked to the nice people over at Coinomi, and we worked with them, and we got Flash added to Coinomi, which was a very, very good thing for us. Then what we did is we got on Cryptopia. One of our users approached Cryptopia. We don't actually. There is a foundation in Liechtenstein, but technically speaking, there's no. It's not like there's a company who says, oh, we're going to go and we raised all this money and we're going to go and get on all these exchanges. This is purely a community effort. And so what you're starting to see, like today, the big news for today is we just went live on CryptoBridge.
Boom. That's awesome. Yeah, that's great. That's great news.
I'm really super excited about that. Yeah. Hoping we can send a lot of business there because because right now Cryptopia, which has done a great job with Flash, by the way, we really
Right.
like the people at Cryptopia. They were the first exchange to pick up Flash, and we'll always remember that and always support them. But decentralized exchanges, we think, are going to be the way of the future.
Okay.
They're going to be that's where a lot of people now individual people who are just getting started, they're going to need something like Coinbase where they can just say, here's your price, click the button, put your quarter in the slot, and here's your coin, like a vending machine.
Right.
And that is, that's a big part of the market, obviously. But when you look at the other kinds of exchanges, the order book type exchanges, decentralized, I think, is going to play a very, very big role.
Oh yeah.
Especially as these exchanges just get totally overloaded. I mean, Cryptopia right now, they have so many orders coming in that they are
It's shut down. Yeah.
shut down.
It's shut
Bittrex,
down. Right.
Bittrex. Bill Shihara, who's the CEO there, who's a very good person. We know Bill pretty well, and he had to shut down new accounts because he got 100,000 accounts in 8 hours.
Wow. Holy
So
cow.
I'm telling you, it's an avalanche right now,
Right.
and but that's actually the responsible thing to do, which is the first thing as a business is you take care of your customers that you have. You don't worry about going out and getting new customers if you can't take care of the ones you have, because you'll just do a bad job for both of them.
Of course. Of course. I agree.
So, so the advantage of the web wallet is we also could build an API, because we have something called the key server, which basically builds a database that can be accessed very quickly of the blockchain. And what that means is that you have things indexed, so you can go and look them up, and you can say, oh, what is this address's balance? I don't have to go scan the whole blockchain in order to do it. I don't have to download the whole node. All I have to do is query a database, and boom, I've got my answer. Now, it turns out that when you have that kind of a functionality, you can also build an API to do a lot of other stuff. And so, we built Flash. The goal was to empower developers to go out and build applications and what we're going to do to help people is we're going to have, there's no developer slush fund. So we go out to the community. Someone says, I have a great idea for, some kind of a project. Let's say it's a dice game or something like that. One of our members of the community may say, yeah, I'll give you 10,000 Flash just so we have a dice game. And, and then the person does it. And then what they do is they build a fee in there for themselves, and maybe they share it with the people who help support them. So it's really, the cool thing about the crypto technology is the payments, because we sped up the blockchain. We cut the transaction fees by eliminating most of the overhead of mining.
That's awesome.
And,
Yeah.
and so the result is, we are not going to have to worry. The users of Flash and the community members are not going to have to worry when the Chinese decide to shut down mining, which is what the news release was yesterday. And, what's going to happen to Bitcoin? Well, okay, it'll keep going, but, it might take you 2 days to get your transaction through, and who knows what the fee is going to be.
That's insane. I mean, with Flash, the transaction time is literally 2 seconds, right? I mean, I've done it myself. I went into the web wallet, sent Flash, and also received Flash. And just a disclaimer, anyone who's watching this video, I do own Flash, and so does Chris. And I'm actually a big fan of Flash. I just created this T-shirt. I mean, this is awesome. Like, Flash is great. I believe in it, right? But it is 2 second transaction time, and based on what I'm reading from the Flash website, 25,000 transactions per second. And I think I was watching your other videos. You're saying that American Express and Visa or Mastercard, their biggest their transaction time is like what, 50,000 transactions per second, or something like that at their tip top performance. But 25,000 transactions per second, that's huge. I mean, you take a look at Bitcoin. It takes like hours literally to get from one Bitcoin from your Coinbase account to, let's say, a Cryptopia or a coin exchange. And for Ethereum, okay, just recently, I mean, it's January 9th, 2018. With Ethereum, it took, I've heard of stories where people took 20 hours to basically transfer Ethereum to their exchange. I mean, that's just insane. You can't really do business like that, right? With Flash,
No,
it's 2 seconds.
Exactly. And you
Yeah.
know what our design goal, you pointed it out exactly correctly, was we looked at Visa, and I have friends who work at Visa who have worked there in the past, very high level people from there. And one of the things that we've learned from Visa, they have done a lot of work. And most people don't know the history of Visa. It's actually a very interesting history. It started out as Bank AmeriCard with Bank of America. And what they did, and these guys had some real balls, they took, I think, 100,000 people and mailed 100,000 live credit cards out to the field
Wow.
just to see what would happen. No one had ever done this before. No one knew what a credit card was.
Right.
And they were astounded. I mean, the fraud was through the roof, but it doesn't matter because you learn so much from that kind of experiment. And I mean, that's how they used to be in banking. People in banking used to do experiments like this and find, new ways for people and new innovative things to do. Their hands are so tied now with all the regulations. And that's what's so exciting about crypto. We looked at Visa, though. They learned that the transaction speed at a point of sale has to be under 7 or 8 seconds.
Okay.
And that's the amount of time. If I'm standing in line,
Right.
if there's a line of 5 people behind me, and this thing is going to take 2, 3, 4 minutes to clear, people are going to leave. It's
Wow.
like the
Yeah.
equivalent of it's just like an abandoned shopping cart. They
Good
just
point. Yeah. And
so
in a
yeah.
world of
So
e-commerce, right, where I come from, I mean it's 2 second transaction, even like your page loading time. If it's over 10-second page loading time, people will leave. And like if Bitcoin starts, going out there and people start using Bitcoin, you're gonna need a technology that is fast and real time, like now fast. You don't want to wait an hour, 2 hours, 20 hours to get your transaction going. It's insane. You can't really do that.
you got to be. I think the magic number is under that 7 or 8 seconds.
Right.
And people online, they've been trained. I mean, the credit card companies have actually done a very good job of making everything work and being what I call boringly reliable. I mean, that is so that you don't even think about it. You put your credit card in there and it's just going to work, right?
Right.
Now, maybe the card bounces, and that's always unfortunate when that happens to you. But when you're there at checkout and the thing just goes like this, poof. So that's part of it. The other thing is the throughput. We actually had to spend a fair amount of engineering time to figure out how to scale it so that you could have, we looked at the goal and we got to 25,000 transactions a second. And our guys said, we have a roadmap to go to 1 million.
Wow.
And I looked at it and I said, well, how many transactions a second are these other people getting? Well, PayPal's getting 1,500 transactions a second.
Wow.
Bitcoin's doing maximum 6 transactions a second. I said,
Right. It's insane.
we killed it already. So let's go solve other problems. And 25,000, we know how to go to 1 million if we had to. But I think the reality is that we're just going to focus this on this remittance e-commerce type of application. Now, there's a lot of other things you can do with Flash too. I mean, it's because it's like Bitcoin or Litecoin. You can put 40 bytes of data in each transaction. A lot of people don't know that. It's already built into the Bitcoin code. What can you do with 40 bytes of data? Well, people like me who used to program on punch cards, I'm like 40 bytes. I'm
That's a
like
lot.
this. I'm licking my chops. I'm
Yeah.
saying, wow, I can build a signaling plane for communications in 40 bytes.
Wow.
Where I post some kind of a obfuscated address or something like that, and only my friends can read it, and they'll know exactly where I am, and they'll be able to peer-to-peer communicate with me. Or if I want to do a trade on a decentralized exchange, so we can support all those kind of applications. And to me, that is what's super exciting, and the fact that we can help people out. When you look at people in who do remittances, a lot of these people don't have a lot of money. They're
Right.
poor, but yet they now have cell phones. But when they send a remittance, I mean, the fees that they pay are outrageous. A lot of people like that, they don't have bank accounts. How can they get and send remittances to other people? Excuse
Right.
me.
And just,
That's a
looking at I mean, I send money to the Philippines every week, right? And there's always a fee, especially with PayPal. You have what's called the in-caching fee. or if you were to send it through Remitly or Zoom, like your old company, which is that's freaking nuts. Also, I mean, like you're my hero, just the owner of Zoom.com. That's crazy. I'm
Well,
talking to the owner
to be fair, this
before,
is for the payment company. So it was
right.
another. I wasn't around for the payment company,
But
but it
but
was.
still, that's still
Yeah,
pretty cool to be able to say, hey, I'm talking to the owner of the prior to what Zoom is dot com right now. But basically, like I transfer money all the time, and there's always that remittance fee, and it's a lot. I mean, for someone out there, $5, even $20, $30, that's a lot of money to them. If
absolutely.
I mean this is a game changer, a penny, right? A penny. As a matter of fact, we were discussing on the Discord channel with someone. They were saying that even a penny is expensive for Flash. I was looking at this Explorer right here. If we go to Flash coin.io and we head over to the Explorer, we can see this when this thing loads. Okay, so we have 900 million Flash in circulating supply, and the transaction fee, the total transaction fee here, guys, okay, is 10 Flash coins. So out of 737,000 transactions, the total fee was 10 Flash coins. The Flash coin right now is let's refresh this, about 16 cents. Okay, so it's fluctuating around 16, 17 cents right now. So you do the math there, that's like a dollar, right? I mean, that's like less than a dollar. So 10 transactions times 17 cents, that's $1.70. Okay, $1.70 total transactions, and that's the fee. That's insane. Now you take a look at that in the trillions and trillions of transactions that's happening right now, and you put this into into action. People are going to be saving lots of money. This is my thought process when it all came down to this. I was thinking of this in an e-commerce sense or even a retail sense, right? When let's say Flash becomes the norm, okay? Retail owners, retail shops, okay, e-commerce shops, they will all flock to using Flash, doing those one penny transactions. I
Yep.
mean, honestly, I think this will cripple the merchant processing industry when this starts becoming adopted in a worldwide sense. I mean, this is huge, guys. Like 1 penny per transaction, even a penny transaction, I would take that all day long versus $5 per transaction. That's huge. So Chris, the second question that a lot of people have, who's behind Flashcoin? I mean, how many people are involved? Um, and can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, there have been a number of teams of people who have contributed to Flash. So, I'm not the creator of Flash. I'm a co-creator. There's a lot of other people who had a hand in it. We all got together and said, "Wow, wouldn't it be great if we could have this thing?"
Okay.
So the other people, we have people. A lot of the people who have been developing on this come from outside the U.S. They come from. We had a whole team of people from Vietnam. So we had one of the main people who was doing the cryptography work was from Vietnam, and actually pretty famous. I don't want to mention his name here, but people who are in cryptography know who he is. A number of other people who've built, a number of, probably websites that are very popular in Vietnam, but you would never have heard of them
Wow.
if you're here. We have people in India. That's where most of our team is right now.
Okay.
And there's a number of reasons for that. It's because we're a low cost coin. One of the things I wanted was to have people involved who have that sensibility, who value and who treasure $2 as a transfer.
Right.
How can we make it possible for someone to send and receive $2? And that's, you can't do that with something like Bitcoin. Your transaction fee is now $16,
That's
and
insane. Yeah.
it's insane,
Yeah.
and it's not a usable coin in any sense. We wanted something that people could actually spend, and and that was inexpensive to maintain, and it was very secure. So the idea was, the team members come from everywhere, and now you see our community. Go on Discord. You can just go. You can look at
It's
that. And
it's big. Yeah. It's grown
yeah,
like 100% the past few days. Like literally, like it
yeah.
went from 70 members to now we're up to. I mean, guys, this is January 9th, 2018. Those of you watching, we went from 70 members to over almost 200. Like it's
Well,
crazy. It's been
we're
growing so fast.
we're going to go a lot bigger than
Oh
that
yeah.
because once we, one of the next things I'm working on, in fact, I'm leaving, I've got to go to Europe tonight. One of the things I'm working on the plane is the plan for, what I'm going to suggest that we do for merchant tools. And, if you look at the history of all payment processing on the web and so forth, the thing that makes it really go are quality open source merchant tools. Now, most of them don't even give you open source tools. They just give you some kind of an API to their back end. We're going to give people the open source, and they're going to be able
Wow.
to do all kinds of things. And the idea is that, some people have applications that require very specific and very special things, and they, maybe they don't want to show it with other people, or they want to have more security, or whatever, or they just, for whatever reason, that's how they want to do it. The door's open, and the idea is that, the way it works for people who are developers, and I think it's a very good system. First of all, post it and get a bounty. We'll go to the community. We just did one today. Let me go to Discord here real quick. The first one, I just did it today. We opened up a new channel on Discord.
I did see
It's
that.
it's called Bounties. And so the first bounty I put up was, someone asked us today. He said, what's the comparison between Flash and other coins? And I said, well, it's very straightforward. I mean, it's the transaction processing fee, which is very low. It's the transaction speed, which is very fast. But we can also talk about things like how many people are holding the coins, those kind of things. I mean, we actually have a fairly decent sized audience. We have about 400,000 addresses with a balance, and about 69,000 people with a web wallet, which is pretty good. I mean, that's a good start. But we put this up, and I said, you know what? I'm just going to offer someone 5,000 Flash to do that. So that's about $1,000. When I did it.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm going to give it out of my own pocket. And so what I think is going to happen with the applications, we get someone who wants to build a game. If it's a cool game, you know what? Everyone in the community is going to chip in. I mean, I'll be at the front of the line because I'm looking for anything that's going to help Flash and people get more Flash. They can also build, and this is what's cool about this is it's I was in the software development area for a long time doing the shareware. And shareware, the problem was you wrote all the software, you did a great job, and then you had to put some kind of a crippler in there to make sure that people would pay, and everyone hates that. But now you can build transactions right into it, and you can build microtransactions, and you can do it with Flash. So if someone wants to pay 10 cents, you can do a split payment and say, I'm going to take 2 cents, you keep the other 8. I'll take 2 cents for developing it, and you're done. That's huge. That is, and the coin and the money goes. The coins, I shouldn't say money. The coins go right into the developer's wallet on the spot. You don't have to go collect the money after 60 days or something.
Wow. So you're saying that anyone can take this source code, the open source code, and build out, let's say, an application to accept payments. Let's say I build out an application, and this is for, in my crowd is e-commerce, and so I build out a platform like Shopify, and integrate Flash, and every single transaction that comes in, I get a portion of that because I've created this. Is that correct? Wow, that's
Exactly.
That's mind blowing. And knowing that Flash has a fast transaction and a cheap transaction rate, you can charge 2 cents per transaction versus the
Right.
the $2, $3, $4, $10, $30, $100 per transaction. I mean, I had a friend, he sent a large sum of money. It cost him $3,000 to send that transaction. Imagine it costing only 2 cents, right? It's insane what this can do. I mean, those of you that are watching, like this, I highly believe that this is going to be the future right here. This technology, the ability to do these things, and like what Chris was mentioning, there's also a roadmap, and let's head over to that real quick here. The roadmap here. And can you explain a little bit about this here, Chris? More into the remittance and the merchant services. I'm really interested in that one.
Yeah. So what we have is, just to go through the top features.
Okay.
When you look at the web wallet, the first thing I really like the web wallet. That's probably my favorite feature of Flash because, when we built it, we wanted it to be super simple, boringly reliable, and and I think we've achieved that. We still have some things where we're improving the reliability. We had a little outage today. I don't know if it's still going on or not with one of the servers, but we're starting to get more people in the community and people who can help out and pitch in. But the point is, we made a deal with the merchant area. One of the things I wanted to do is to find someone, because we did not do an ICO. We didn't have bags of cash. So with our model, it's a little different. So how do you find someone who can develop it? And it costs a lot of money to build some of this stuff. So we found a company, a public company in Canada that I've been talking to for a couple of years about this. And the public stock market in Canada has just gone insane. So what they did is we made a deal to take Safe Cash, which is totally separate from Flash. But that gives them the ability to, they have a license for that for Canada. And that's just with the Safe Cash shareholders. So those guys are getting some of their money back. And then we did a deal. I did a deal personally with some of the code that I had paid to develop out of my own pocket. And what I ended up doing is doing a licensing deal with them for shares. So I didn't take any cash back. I wanted the company to have the cash. And what they're going to do is they're going to build a remittance application. They're going to take this. They're going to take this because remittances are $1 trillion a year business. It's
Right.
monster business.
It's huge.
Huge. And and to basically have something that is an open source, open remittance network that's still legally compliant, it's going to be fantastic. It's going to save people so much money. I mean, you look at the people where the remittances go. Philippines is probably the biggest market in the
Right.
world. Right, and you go, where do the funds come from? They come from the U.S., North America. They come from the Gulf region in the Middle East, from Dubai, from the Emirates, from Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, those kind of places. And the goal that I have here is to start to turn the equation around so that you don't have to go to a remittance shop to go and stand in line and pick up your remittance. That you can do it through a local merchant.
Right.
And the way it would work is let's say that I have my relative in Abu Dhabi wants to send me 300 dirham. And what they would do is there's a local partner a Flash partner in that country, and this is going to be done. FTI is going to do it. They're in the process of raising $3 million right now, and that's what it's going to be spent. Most of it's going to be spent on. They're also going to acquire a supply of coins. So they're going to take some of that money. They're not taking all $3 million, so don't get too excited yet. But it's they're going to go and they're going to we'll find some people who are Flash coin holders, large ones, who want to support what FTI is doing, and they'll sell some coins at a certain price, whatever they agree to. That's up to them. It's their private business. And then FTI will then buy some coins on the exchange. That's the way that we've tried to structure all these things, to basically support the price of the coin on the exchange, to support the community. That's how the community is supported. When the price of the coin goes up, if the price of the coin goes up 2x and people give away 10% of what they have now, it doesn't hurt. I mean, it's a totally new concept in terms of supporting things. And this is possible because you have a zero inflation environment. And that is something that, the economists, they've studied some of these things, but they've never seen anything like it, is what I'm guessing. And it works.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you look at the Bitcoin community, look at what's happened. There have been people say, I was at a conference at Coin Agenda in Las Vegas, just got back this morning, but people are saying, I wish there were more regulations. And I'm like, let's see, we went from $20 billion market cap to almost $800 billion market cap, and there are no regulations or very little regulations. What's the problem? It seems to be doing just fine. I mean, people self-regulate. If I'm nice to you, you're nice to me, and someone sends me something by mistake, I always make sure I return it. Are there bad people out there? Sure, there are everywhere. But it's I think by and large, most people here are very good people. And when I look at the merchant services, the amount of fees that a merchant pays to the credit card companies, and I used to run wine.com. So we were doing at the time $20, $25 million a year.
Right.
We were paying almost 3%.
Right. Of
right?
course. Yeah. 3%, 2 to 3% is usual. Yeah.
2 to 3%. Yeah,
Yeah.
you might get it down, but the problem a merchant has is the first problem is, you have a holdback, right? So you've
Right.
got a personal guarantee on that account. You have a holdback, and your holdback is typically some large percentage of, probably 10, 15, 20% of what your transactions are for 6 months.
Okay.
They
Right.
basically, after 6 months, the credit card company ends up holding anywhere from 50 to 100% of an average month's transactions. Now, I don't know what it is for your situation. Maybe it's less. Some of these
Yeah.
things
So
have got.
it's about 10% for PayPal, and then for depending on your situation and how fast you ship the products, the credit card company will also put a hold on that. If you're doing drop shipping, like I know a lot of my students are doing, they have up to 50% holdback. That's insane. Like you can't run a business like that.
No, no,
But even with 10% is still crazy too, because if your margins are only, 10, 20%, all of your money is being held until, a full six
bingo.
months, and you can't move. Like you cannot scale.
It is.
That's
It's literally a boot on the neck of the entire economy.
right, right,
Okay. Now, the other thing is, if you think about it, let's say you have a 10% pre-tax profit on your business. If you're spending 2% or 3%, you have a 20 or 30% tax on your business. Because if you didn't pay 2% or 3%, if you paid a penny or
right,
less for the transaction fee, how much money would go to your bottom line? Another 2 to 3% of your total sales.
right.
So your profits are going to go up by 20 or 30%. So it's a monster change for businesses, and it's when you look at international business. I mean, if I buy something from China, so let me give you an example, and I know you understand this. If I want to buy a lightning charging cable for my iPhone, and I go to Best Buy, it's going to cost $20.
Right.
Well, the factory that makes it over in Shenzhen, right? You can buy them 10 for 60 cents a piece.
Right.
So, and China Post will literally ship to my doorstep for about $1.70 to $2 USPS and through that system. But they
That's
pay
cheaper than any shipping you can get out here in the U.S. I mean, it's like
it's
277 for media mail, or
exactly.
so
So
yeah.
I mean, President Trump's after that actually, and that's there's something but that's an international treaty, right? So
Right.
I don't know what he's going to do about it, but the fact is, if you're a consumer, to be able to shop the world at that kind of a price is an amazing bargain. I
It
mean, it's
is.
amazing. And to be able to buy 10 cables for $6 and have it shipped to your doorstep in about 10 to 14 days for $2, under $2, but they're paying 4 to 5% credit card transaction fees, right? And then the problem you have as a merchant, you can be the most honest merchant in the world, and most merchants are very honest people. What happens is these people end up paying, they end up getting chargebacks. And I mean, it's chargebacks, it's a huge problem in the industry, is that some people, for whatever reason, just don't feel like paying. And there are people who just go and charge back everything, and they
Right.
just take advantage of the system. And then everybody, the prices have to go up to pay for all that. It's, someone's got to pay for it. So, this is a system where it relies more on the honesty of people and more on the good nature of people. And my opinion of that is, I think it's where society in general needs to go, and it's much more efficient. I mean, merchants are going to be able to pass these savings on to consumers, and everyone will keep more. I mean, it's just like when you lower the tax bill and people get a big bonus for that, right?
Yeah.
That's a good thing. Company wins, the taxpayer wins, and and the worker wins. So it's a great thing for everybody.
I agree with you 100%. I mean, if I were to, be able to save $10,000 a month from the transaction fees, I could hire another employee for the business. I could buy more equipment. I could buy more supplies. That's huge. I mean, you think about it, and you think about it in a year, right? In a year span, you spending $120,000 just in merchant processing fees. That's going to
Yep.
the merchant. You could be taking that money and building your business and scaling it from, $120,000. You can put it back, make, $200,000, $300,000. That's a huge difference in your business. And this is great. So the other questions that
Yes. This is. Let me just finish up about FTI, because I
okay,
know people have had questions about that. So that's what FTI is going to be doing. They're going to be. They just took the code that we had and that I had built, and that's what they're taking. They've got a license for Safe Cash.
Okay.
They can build in Canada. They can build gold and silver backed coins.
Wow.
They can do that. I mean, they're going to need to get a license and they're going to need to get a bank to help them out. But I think as a public company there, and I think they're going to be able to raise a lot of money. And the good news for Flashonians is that, and I don't know, we haven't really come up with a good name for all of us yet, but let's call ourselves Flashonians
I
for
like
now.
it. I love it.
Yeah.
Flashonians. I'll create a
So,
new shirt. Flashonians.
well, I think it's better than Flasher, right? That's
Yeah.
kind of,
Oh,
that's
that
probably
yeah. You don't want to put that on a shirt.
right, exactly. Or maybe some people do. I don't know. It's up to them. They can do whatever they want to. But the point is that this is the way that we found to solve the issue of the security registration issue. If you want to raise money with an ICO, a lot of those are going to be deemed to be securities, which means you have to register. Well, here's a way to do it. It's a company in Canada. They're already registered. They're trading on the stock market. You can go buy their stock if you want to. They can go raise money. They can issue debt. They can do all these things. They can sell stock, and then they can invest in coins like Flash. So I would expect that we'll see. I think we'll see investment in the applications. I think we'll see investment in terms of the coins themselves, because obviously that's one way that people can monetize their investment. I mean, if you're going to build a great application for something,
Right.
you have to be nuts not to own a lot of the coins,
Of
because
course.
I mean they're going to go up in value probably, right? I can't tell you they're going to go up in value, but look at what's happened in history. There's a good chance something like that could happen.
Yeah. I mean,
So
look at what happened in the past week or so, right? I mean, the Flash coin just went up in value because I think from here, I mean, people were starting to realize what this coin has, the potential of this coin. And once the word gets out and people start utilizing it, putting into real life applications, this is going to go. I believe it's going to do like pretty big numbers. The value of the coin, that is, that's my belief because I also plan on doing some e-commerce applications with this. I plan on creating an e-commerce store just using Flashcoin. So you can only transact with Flashcoin with this e-commerce store where you can buy products and it gets shipped out to you, but you would only be able to buy Flashcoin. Now, I think this right here, what this like you mentioned, what are your thoughts on this in terms of people that hold Flash? I mean, is this really good news? Um,
yeah,
what are your thoughts on that?
this is super great news. It's a couple things. It's an endorsement of what Flash is doing.
Okay.
It is it's any time that you can have, if you look at the history of operating systems and these sorts of things, the value comes from the development community. I mean, look at Ethereum, look at Bitcoin,
Right.
look at Microsoft, look at Apple. Those companies all had very strong development communities, and that's all we have to do is just build a very strong development community, provide very top quality support for people, provide tools, because obviously if you can just take something off the shelf and customize it for what you want, that's going to save you a lot of time, and that's the product you're going to develop for. And to the extent we have all these other things going for us, which is the low transaction speed, or the fast transaction speed, the low transaction cost, all these factors people are just now looking at it like, well, I was thinking about using Ethereum for this, but it's going to cost, it's this slow, and it's going to take me 40, 50 cents for a transaction. Now, if you're selling a big ticket like a financial contract for $1 million, you don't care about a 40-cent fee.
Right.
But if you're trying to sell a 99-cent music track for, and you're paying a 40-cent fee, that just doesn't make any sense. These other solutions like Lightning, for example, which is a very interesting concept. And I mean, these side chains, I think you're going to see some of those actually succeed. But they have the same problem, which is now you're outside of the network. You are creating a subnet. And how do you move things from the main network to the subnet? So let's say I want to go spend $51 transactions on Lightning. Well, that runs on Bitcoin, so it's going to cost me $16 to send $50 over to Bitcoin. And then I can do my $1 transactions, and let's just say that they get them so that they're pretty close to free. But I don't use all my coins. I only do 40 transactions instead of 50. I still have $10 left over there. How do I get it home? I can't. It's stuck.
Right.
Because it's now dust, because I'm not going to pay $16 to move $10 over. It's just going to get consumed. And then my only choice is to spend another $16 to load it up more so that I can move it off, and that doesn't make any sense. So it's just going to get abandoned.
Right. And Flash, this solves that problem. I mean, because of that
Exactly.
transaction fee. That's brilliant. I mean, this is brilliant. I don't know, but I'm just really excited just listening to this conversation, in terms of what we can be doing in e-commerce. Coming from an e-commerce perspective, I mean, most of the transactions are small transactions. I mean, a lot of the bulk of the sales are, from $10 to $20. Anything above $50 in e-commerce is considered high ticket. And I mean, if you're paying, if your cost to transact in, let's say, Bitcoin is more than that $20 product, it doesn't make sense to do that transaction in real life perspective. I mean, I mean, this right here, this Flash coin literally solves that problem. Now, what's the difference between Flash and, let's say, the other coins out there? Now we already know about Bitcoin, the transaction times and the cost of it. But what are other coins out there, kind of
Well,
similar or even right?
yeah. Well, there's Litecoin,
Okay.
right? I mean, Litecoin's another coin that does that, and the transaction fees on Litecoin now are, I think, 30, 40 cents. It takes, I think, 8 minutes or so to clear a transaction with Litecoin, and I like Litecoin too. I think I like Charlie Lee; he's a good person, and I was disappointed to hear that he sold all his Litecoins, but
Right.
I'm not sure if that's true or not. I think what's happened now is that because of the visibility of this stuff, I think people in the crypto community have been threatened. That's what I think.
Okay.
I think they have some personal security issues, and that's part of the reason why no one wants to be a public person with this. I did it for Flash because I think there's a problem when you have a ghost. I think that people are like, who really did this? How do I trust it? Who can I go yell at if it doesn't work? It's this is important for people's lives. I mean, if you think about it, what is it that we're trying to do here? We're trying to improve our society. That's the bottom line. And commerce is a very important part of our society. I mean, everyone has to transact unless you're living in the mountains in a cave and growing all your own food and locking the gate. You're going to be communicating with people and sharing things with people and trading and doing commerce. So it touches everybody. Other coins that are out there, I think, there's a whole class of private coins like Monero. We're huge fans of Monero, in case you didn't know it. But that's a private coin, and that has slow transactions speeds. The fees are higher. But, for a private coin, you don't care. I think, there's a number of others that have, there's Rayblocks, which has got it's got supposedly a faster way to process transactions. I think that, in another year or two, I think is probably going to be very promising. Most of these new technologies, I mean, this is the thing you have to realize that, it took Bitcoin a long time to really get solid and to the point where it's pretty reliable and it's resilient. And the bugs got taken out of it, and there are always bugs. I mean, everyone makes mistakes when they program, and there's things that are unforeseen and whatnot. And the only way to test it is to get it in the hands of people. And so when you look at the number of transactions that have gone through the Bitcoin Litecoin system, that's why we picked it. Because it's a very solid and robust system. It's been tested. People know how it works. You can find people who can develop for it, and they know exactly the right questions to ask because they probably built something like it before, and then they had a problem with it. And so they said, well, wait a second. If we have a problem over here with this this hash or whatever, how do you solve that problem? So there's a really that's the advantage. The new ones that are coming out are going to have to go through that cycle. And quite frankly, I think some of them, I see a lot of these things that are white papers, and that's it. And there's no coin. They have an ERC20 coin. The ERC20, brilliant for raising money. amazing job with the Ethereum guys did coming up with that and making it so it works. Problem with it, it's not an operating blockchain. So everyone that I know of who has any kind of business volume is going to have to build their own blockchain. And for those people, it may make sense to just tag along and use Flash for it, and use the other blockchain as some kind of a way to create a subgroup on Flash. That can be done too, but it's it's a big problem for a lot of those people. The transaction speeds. If you're doing a social media type of an application,
Right.
yeah, it's great to raise money with an ERC20, but how do you actually do, if I want to join a group and you want to charge 10 cents, well, now you're going to pay Ethereum 30, 40 cents.
Right.
Just can't do it.
Right.
So it's not built for that. And I mean, they're the first people to admit it, but they've got so much other business that they're going to find their place, and they're going to do really well at it, I think.
Gotcha. Okay, so let's move on to the next question. Yeah, like you mentioned, if you're gonna join a group for like 10 cents or even a dollar, and it's gonna cost you 34 cents, it's kind of hard to, work around that unless you're doing, Flash, which actually I've had transactions that I don't know if I'm wrong or not, but it cost zero. Like, was that
Yeah.
possible? I mean, I had
Well,
Flash transactions, yeah.
yeah, it shows the minimum transaction fee is 0.001
Okay.
Flash. So it's 0.02 cents or something like that. So it's like it's so small. I mean, it's just not, well, like you said, I mean, you went through, there's 700,000 transactions on the blockchain, and the total fees were 12 Flash. So that's like nothing.
That's nothing,
So
yeah.
it's not, it's
Um,
just dust.
yeah.
So you're looking here at the governance nodes, and that's another thing that we thought about is one of the things we didn't like about Bitcoin. There's a lot of things we like about Bitcoin, but one of the things we didn't like was the way they did the governance with how they decided on the software updates.
Okay.
By letting the miners do it, they basically gave the miners all the power. So the miners can decide, we don't like this because we're making a lot of money. If you talk to people who are doing professional mining today, and this is January of 2018, and it's going to change, but today people are making, literally, they're printing money doing mining. They are taking literally, they're taking an investment. Say you put $1 million into a mining operation, they're getting all their money back in 60 days. And then until the hardware wears out in 2 years, so they got another 21 months before the hardware wears out, and they're literally printing money. It's like free money. They still have electric costs. They have some operating costs. There's some hidden costs in there, of course. I'm not going to say it's free, but they're making lots and lots of money. Now, it's just like anything. This particular thing is a zero-sum type of a game. I mean, you're creating new coins, of course, so that changes the dynamic somewhat, but someone has to pay for that. And when you look at who is paying for all the people who are making all that money in the mining game, it's paid for by the transaction fees. And that means the people who are paying $16 a transaction fee. And quite frankly, I think people are like getting fed up with it. So I just don't see that as a long-term solution. Some people think, well, Bitcoin is going to be 80,000. I actually think it's going to be 80 to 100,000 this year by the end of the year. Yeah, no, I think now there's a few things that could derail it. If the Chinese decide to ban mining, maybe it'll go higher.
Wow.
It could. These kind of things, it's like when China bans something, the price usually goes up.
Yeah.
So it's kind of the opposite of what people think. But if you look in the history, when they banned the exchanges, they have a lot of flight capital because people it's a communist government there. People don't trust it. And, and they do a lot of bad things to good people in China. And there's so many, many good people in China. I have so many friends who are Chinese and really treasure them. But, that is going to be the issue. I think you're going to see those kind of things are going to have a big impact. That's why we changed the governance model, because we looked at this and said, what's the best governance model? So we looked around. We really liked ARC. We think ARC is a very, very good governance model. The downside to ARC is the staking. In my opinion, they have too much staking. Right now, 70% of the coins are staked. the risk you run with that is that the coins all end up getting staked. They don't circulate. And I mean, it's been very rewarding to people, but with that kind of thing, you have what's that game where they stack everything up and then all of a sudden the whole thing just
Blocks or something like that. Yeah.
one of those. You know what I mean? It's the
Right.
same concept, right?
Okay.
And the idea is very simple. You build this thing, and all of a sudden, when 90% of the coins are staked,
Right.
what's going to happen?
You
Well,
can't.
then at
Yeah.
some
You
point,
can't move. Yeah.
you can't move, and then at some point, someone pulls out one of those things, and the whole thing comes down, and people are
Right.
like, "Oh my gosh, the price is going down. Sell all the coins."
Right. That's a big
And
problem. Yeah.
staking and now, but there are some things that are very, very good about ARC, and they have pretty fast transaction. They've done a very good job with that part of it. I think they tried to do too many things. That's why we are focused on just solving this one problem. I think this is really what you're seeing blockchains that are designed for this. So the philosophy, so we have these things, the concept is it's called a gov node. And what is a gov node? A gov node is a Qt wallet that has special key inside of it that allows it to vote. And the way that we're proposing, and this can be changed at any time by the gov nodes, they can decide to change it to whatever they want. But the point is that we're saying that you're going to have, if you want to vote, you're going to stake 1 million coins. So you've got to be a coin holder. We don't want people who are just showing up to vote. We want people who actually hold coins. So we think that's actually a very good idea, that part of the staking, but in a limited fashion.
Brilliant.
The mining, we want to have only a few people doing it in different and diverse places. And the idea is then you put up 10 million flash coins in the wallet to be able to mine. And, there's no mining reward. So it's not like people are doing it for, because there can't be
right.
reward. Yeah, there's no money. The total supply is fixed. So there's never going to be a mining reward. The transaction fee, obviously you can go up from a 10,000th of a cent or whatever it is now, or a 5,000th of a cent. It could go up in the future to a penny. Certainly it's got to be less than that. But the goal here is to have this be a low tax coin. And that is that it's just like if you have a country, it's very similar to a country when you look at your governance, or a company even, but a country is probably the best example. How do you decide, how much tax you should have? Well, some places they have, Sweden famously had, I think it was over 100% tax on income tax if you made over a certain amount. So not only did you work hard, the incremental work that you did, you lost money on that. It wasn't like you even had to give all of it. You had to give all of it plus something.
Wow.
And that's just punitive. And so the net result of that was everybody who was successful fled.
Right.
And that's to the detriment of Sweden. And that's basically what you get with socialism. If you look at Hong Kong, they've had low taxes. They have, people work hard. They've really grown a great economy in Hong Kong.
It's flourishing.
Place like Liechtenstein, Switzerland. You go to Zug and it's around 9 to 10% total all-in tax. It's a canton-based tax system. Liechtenstein is about 12.5%. Monaco, if you're doing personal income tax, 0. So the only problem is, of course, it's kind of a small place, but it's a very friendly tax place, and that's why the Formula One drivers who are making $100 million a year move to Monaco. So they don't because they don't have to pay tax. I'm U.S. based, so I have to pay worldwide income, and I have an accountant who takes care of all this stuff and just gives me the bad news. You made money, you have to pay tax. And
yeah.
Fortunately, the U.S. has become a high tax place. In particular, places like New York and California. California is probably 13.3% at the top rate, and then 39.6%. So you're over 50% of your money goes into this stuff. So we looked at this. We said, what's the model that we like? What is the best model to encourage growth of this? And the best model is low tax. I mean, that's been proven. There's no question about it. It's not like we want lots of regulations and we want lots of taxes, and that's really good for the business. You hear these people talking about it like, if we regulate these things, look at how much better it's going to be. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. There are virtually no regulations in the last year, and we went from $20 billion market cap to almost $800 billion market cap in crypto coins. And
That's
that's
crazy. Yeah.
because there's no regulation.
Right.
Because
Hmm.
there's no, every time you do put up a regulation, people are like, well, I don't want to go to jail. I want to follow the law. And then they spend all their time hiring lawyers. They spend hundreds of thousands of dollars. And we just wanted something super simple. People can just come here. We've looked at all the legal compliance. We did the best job we could. Of course, laws change all the time, and you don't know what's going to happen in the future. But we worked really hard to make sure that we had something that is, first of all, a community coin, second of all, legally compliant, and third of all, a great place that people will want to be and use. That's really the point. So we're not trying to, back to the governance nodes, we're not trying to attract people who are going to say, well, I'm going to own these governance nodes, and then I'm going to jack the taxes up, and I'm going to collect it all. That's not, those people are being discouraged from getting a GovNode. Let's put it that way. And the reason is because you'll destroy the whole community. That's what happens. And the fact is that someone could just come along and say, well, you know what? If we don't do a good job, someone could come along and say, well, I'm just going to take a copy of the blockchain and I'm going to fork it and I'll just create Flash, super Flash. And I'm going to put lower fees on it. And guess what? Everyone already has coins. It's like a big airdrop. And and that's what keeps people honest. Honestly, that's that whole concept. Open source is a great concept for this. So that's what the governance node is all about. And that's all it does. All the GovNode does is it votes. It doesn't.
Gotcha.
It doesn't mine. There are a few people who will be designated miners, but this is the designated proof of work, and they're voted on by the GovNodes. So the GovNodes will be spread out all over the world. We expect people in a lot of different countries. If you look at the people who are working with Flash right now, Venezuela, we're seeing a lot of people there. Philippines, we're having a lot of increase. India, people in India love Flash. And and part of it's because our dev team is there, and part of it is just because it just appeals to people because we've built this coin that values someone's $2, which in some parts of the world is a full day's wage. I mean, that's important money to people,
Right.
important value. So I think that's really, that's the difference between us. We looked at using ARC as a governance model, but unfortunately they're like everything is 70% done. They've done a great job for themselves, but I just don't think it was ready for this. So we just decided to do it ourselves and just make it super dead simple.
Interesting. Yeah, and the reason why I got into Flash, I mean, you guys got me at point one penny transaction and 25,000. You guys got me right at that. And I was like, wow, this is definitely going to be a winner. And looking at this governance model, I mean, it's kind of like thinking of it like this, like Flashcoin was made for the people, right?
Exactly.
It's by the people for the people. And this is for everyone to be able to break free of those problems that they have in terms of transactions, like you said, in India, where money is important. I mean, everyone's money is important, right? Everyone who's watching this video, raise your hand. You agree with me. Money is important to you. And if your money is going out somewhere, you want to make sure that you have the lowest fees possible. And that's what this model here is, just super brilliant. And what you thought of here, Chris, and the other founders of Flash, I mean, this is brilliant right here. Kudos to you guys. Now, the other question that we have here from the community. Now, are there any plans to have Flash added to any other exchanges? I mean, Cryptopia, right? Recently, they grew too big and they stopped their registration, so they were not able to, people were not able to register and buy. I think those that watched, how Flash was going, they wanted to buy, get some Flash coin. They were not able to do it at Cryptopia. What's the plan moving forward? I mean, just today, recently, you just announced that Flashcoin is just recently put up into a new exchange called Cryptopia Bridge. Is that right? Or
Crypto Bridge.
Crypto
Yeah.
Bridge. Okay.
It's Crypto-Bridge. It's a decentralized exchange, and let me take a look and see if I can see I can't see the order book there. I'll have to look. Anyway, I'll look. Maybe it's there. There it is. So we've got some. Well, there's the order book starting to fill out, and so what we have is, the short answer is we're a community coin. We want our coin to be everywhere, and the fact is, because we're open source, anyone can put us on their exchange, and we can't stop them. So let's just put that out on the table. The second thing is we want to help the exchanges. And so we have some special documentation that we provide only to exchanges to help them go through the process and to get Flash on the exchange. To put it in perspective, because we're based on Litecoin, it's really fast for an exchange to put it up. And we did that on purpose because you have compatibility, you have a lot of a lot of the questions are answered, based on what kind of cryptography that you're using and how you're handling the transactions. And the exchanges that have done it so far, Cryptopia and CryptoBridge, it's super easy. Coinomi did it in a couple days, and they had a couple days of testing and everything else. So it's not a heavy implementation. Something like Monero, which is uses ring encryption. That's a whole different animal. I mean, that takes a lot of work. That's why they don't have a hardware wallet yet for Monero, and it's a hard project. I mean, I'm not saying it's they're not slow or anything. It's just a lot more difficult. Flash, we want to be on all these exchanges, and I'm going to tell people this: we will not announce, we're going to go on this exchange. We'll just tell people, guess what? This exchange just put Flash on it. Because we don't want to hype up the coin and get people thinking, it's going to be great and everything else, and then everyone gets disappointed. So we think it's better off just to show up and say what you do and do what you say.
Right.
It's that simple.
Yeah, actions speak louder than words, and
Yep.
there's a funny meme inside of the Discord chat. I think it's like, from Fight Club. What's the first rule of Fight Club? You don't talk about Fight Club. Same thing with Flash. What's the first rule of Flash? You don't talk about Flash. And
Tyler Durden had it right. You just don't you don't talk about that.
Right.
Now, and the other thing is we won't talk about things that are deals and things like that we're working on. But what we will, we can give you just general guidance of the things that people are contacting our, the community about, and that we're asking around with different people in the community. We are starting to see inquiries from exchanges. That's true. We are starting to see OTC trade requests from funds, and I think you're going to see that. That actually is really important because these are people who are longer term hold and very smart investors. And when you see smart investors start to show up, that's usually very, very positive for a coin. And it's going to provide more stability. It's going to provide more liquidity. It's going to provide, eventually higher price, which for some people is important. People using the coin, they just want a stable price. They want something where there's a liquid market and they can make utility out of it. But this is how you solve all these problems: is you get more exchanges and you get more people holding the coin and trading it. It's that simple. That's really all it is. So those are the kind of things. The developer, though, the real thing that we're focusing on is building something real, making it real. And Charlie Lee pointed this out in a tweet maybe a couple weeks ago. And he's like, someone said, "Well, aren't you going to go and pump the price of Litecoin?" And he's like, "Are you kidding me?" He's focused on doing real things, and that's really what we do too. We want developers developing the kind of developments that we're looking at. The remittance market. You think about the markets that are interested in this. People who have any kind of small payment. So people in the music business, people in the any kind of digital content. That's obviously, I have a lot of background of that in my career. So I know a lot about that. And there's a big need for that. Small payments for that. There's a need for gaming. People who have gaming sites who need to do payments and who want to have a micro payment kind of system. You can do that with Flash. So it's I see a lot of very, very big markets, and as soon as we get these merchant tools done, we get people get the API in their hands and they start to play with this and they see how it works. I think 2018 is going to be a really, really exciting year for Flash because just the pipeline that I'm starting to see of people, and we don't talk about people, what they're doing. There's some of it's confidential and we protect people's privacy. But, just the deal flow of stuff that's happening, the interest, the level of interest with crypto. Don't I think it's safe to expect that this year Google, Facebook, these other guys will start to offer something with crypto, maybe their own coin, maybe it's something with some other coin. Those big companies, they all have money transmission licenses, Amazon, PayPal, all these people. They're all going to have to do something in this area because they can see that there's a crunching sound happening, and they're in a crush zone a little bit.
Right, and just Facebook recently mentioned that they were interested in crypto, right? Mark Zuckerberg was, somewhat interested in getting into it, and I mean, it's bound to happen, I believe. It's just timing, and this is really really exciting. Now, yeah, go ahead. Did you have something?
No, I was going to say, it's timing is everything.
Right.
And I've been too early and too late, and when you're too late, that's actually more merciful because you just die faster. When you're too early, you're hanging there in the breeze. You're like, there's got to be something here. There's got to be, what's going on, and it's just not the right time. This is the right time. You
Right.
can tell. This is
Right.
when you turn this thing on, and our Discord room is,
It's
where are we at? We're at 160 people right
yeah,
now.
it's slamming. I mean, people are just talking all day, all night, talking about this and various applications. I mean, just like what you mentioned before, just putting this into different applications like e-commerce or gaming, or like you trying to transfer money to another gamer, or you trying to tip someone by whoever posted this on social media, you wanted to tip them or something like that. You can do that with Flashcoin and very very cheap as well. Now that's insane. So is the there another question is the 25,000 transactions per second? Can you explain briefly about that for those that don't understand that? We talk about it a lot. The 25,000 transactions, and is it scalable? Like, can we go to 100,000? Can we go to a million transactions? What are your thoughts
Yeah.
on that?
Well, I mean, here's what we did. When we said we needed to scale to a certain number of transactions, my first goal was, maybe we can do 10,000 transactions a second. And the engineers came back and they said, well, we can, if we do a few more things, we can get to 25,000. So I said, let's do that. Let's get to 25,000. And if you look at the white paper, there's a graph in the white paper. And what we did is we set up a test net, there it is right there. We set up a test net, and basically what this test net consisted of is it's not like some high-powered computer, right? Because obviously, if you have to spend, a certain amount of money on software engineering, it's just cheaper to buy bigger hardware. You just throw some big iron at it, and you can triple or quadruple this number here. But we said, you know what? People don't have those kind of computers, and we want something that's going to be like back to the people's network concept. So we use these little cube computers, and let me see if I've got one of them around here. I've got one on my desk. I don't want to unplug it, but let me see. I've got one somewhere here. Here it is.
And this was benchmarked on a i7 processor, Brix Cube, with 3.9 gigahertz, 16 gigabyte RAM for those that are watching, and 240 gigabytes SSD. And this was benchmarked on that thing right there. What you're just holding.
This one of these, a computer
One of
just like.
those. Okay.
This is a you can go buy it on Amazon for $500 or $600. You throw in an SSD and 16 gigs of RAM, you're out the door for $700 or $800. And the good news about this is this is a laptop. It's an i7 designed for laptop, so you can it's got multi-threading. It's got a lot of great features. I love these little computers. It only uses 80 watts of power at peak.
Wow.
So that's how. And this is what we ran this through. We ran it through this, and we tested it with this. Now, remember that when you start to throw things onto a network, and we tested the network latency and all those things as well. But the fact is that the throughput in terms of the actual processing inside of this, there are we have in our data centers, we have typically 9 of these that are all running in parallel, just like they're on like a little mini net. And we set these things up in a variety of different places all around the world: Iceland, U.S., they're in a number of places, and I don't want to say exactly where they are, but they're in a number of places. And the idea is that is, you're redundant. You've got the ability to process transactions. How many transactions can you go to? Well, the engineers looked at it, and there are people who've actually done this, very similar. They figured out a roadmap for this. You can get to 1 million transactions a second. There are a number of
Wow.
things you. So that's, we had the roadmap for that, and they said, well, do we want to do it now? And I said, no. We don't need 1 million transactions a second. We need 1 million people doing, 1,000 transactions a second. So let's get that problem. Let's go do that right now. And that's what ended up happening. So,
Brilliant.
so this is, when you talk about something that's eco-friendly, because one of the reasons why we got into this, we actually had a company called Unseen, which is based in Iceland. Unseen.is. It's a private and secure communications company based in Iceland, and developers are in the U.S. and in Vietnam and other places. But what we found, I went over there to visit the data center one time, maybe a year after we set up shop there. And when I first went, the place was half empty. I show up there a year later, it was full. And I asked a guy, I said, where did all these people come from? And he said, they're Bitcoin miners.
Wow.
And the reason is because electricity in Iceland is very cheap. It comes from the volcano. So they have cheap power and, very talented people over there as well, and high quality data centers. And then the other thing is, if you want to air condition your data center, you open the window. The maximum recorded high temperature in the whole country is 80 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's very, cool. It's ideal for data centers, actually. The downside is, of course, there are only 2 or 3 different fiber optic lines out and in of the country, right? One goes to Denmark, another one goes to England, and then the other goes to Greenland. So it's, that part of it is not as robust. But when you look at how you want to design this, to get to low cost, you have to save costs on a lot of things, and you don't want to cut corners. So anyway, I'm going to have to get going here in a second. I think my ride is here for
Yeah.
the airport.
Okay, awesome. Well, wow, this is really good information here, Chris. Thank you so much. Now, just real quickly, what is the future of Flash? What do you think is the future of Flash? And then just one last question afterwards, after that one. What are your thoughts on that? Like a
Well,
year from now, 2 years?
a year from now, I mean, what I would like to see is if you look at our key performance indicators, we put them right on the front of the screen, and what happens is that you have if you look at the transactions, that I want to keep the transaction speed down under 5 seconds. I'd like to see our transactions per second go up to somewhere between 50 and 100 transactions a second. I'd like to see our total balances in the millions. And then the price, I think if you compare it with something like Dogecoin, which has a $1.7 billion valuation, we're at about 10% of that right now. And what I would like to see is I'd like to see us, being appreciated, in that kind of a manner. Now, if we get a lot of merchants and we get a lot of actual real business going through here, this is probably worth even more. But that's up to the market to decide, and we don't ever talk about the price. It's Fight Club, right?
Right. Yeah, that's Fight Club. Well, actually, the last question is, I mean, how does it feel to know that your Flash coin, went from the $100,000, 24-hour volumes, and this is probably the Fight Club thing again, going up to like 3, 4 million 24-hour volume in just a week. How does that feel? Just to, for everyone to kind of feel it out.
Well, I'm gonna. I'd be lying to you if I didn't say it felt great, right? It does
Yeah.
feel great. It's great. What I really appreciate more than anything is all of the people who've worked so hard. They feel vindicated. They feel like, oh, someone else appreciates the work that they did. And to me, I think that's the big thing here. And the other thing is, you can really see how you can help people. So that to me is that's what Flash is all about. It's a community of people helping each other. You can see it on the Discord channel. It's just we have
It's
great
it's
people.
going, yeah, it's going. Like I'm looking at it right now. It's just People are going.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
thank
I
you
think
so.
there's going to be a lot of exciting announcements. There's stuff I can't talk about right now, but there's going to be a lot of exciting announcements, and I think everyone's going to be very, very happy with Flash.
I believe it, and I believe we're also on the ground floor right now, right? I mean, it's just gonna go up from here on out. This is really
Well,
exciting, Chris. Like like I said, thank you so much for all of this and for this interview. Really, really appreciate it. I'm pretty sure the community will really appreciate this interview as well. You're great. I know you're running out on time, but you're gonna go to wherever you need to go, Europe. But
yeah, my chariot just arrived, and I've got to go, and it's going to turn into a pumpkin if I don't get out there quick.
All right, awesome. Well, Chris, thank you so much. Really, really appreciate you and really appreciate everything that you and your team are doing for Flash. And I'm glad to be a part of Flash as well. I'm just gonna sit tight and also work on new projects on Flash as well. That's my personal goal here in the next year, in the next 6 months, month or so, is to work on a few e-commerce projects with Flash. And this is great. This is crazy, guys. And you guys have any questions, put it in the chat box below. This is going to be uploaded on YouTube, so put it on the chat box below. We're gonna be there for you guys, and with any questions that you have in the community, and if the Discord group, you can also join using the link below. Any other last words for us here, Chris?
Just keep flashing because it's you know tell your friends about it. If you like it, tell your friends about it. If you don't like it, tell us about it, and there's something we need to improve. But I think this is a word of mouth thing. So Flash grows based on people liking it, and then share it with a friend. I mean, one of the things that James, who's one of the Flash people early on from Vancouver, from Canada, what he does is he goes and he just tells people, I'll buy this from you for whatever 1,000 Flash. And he did the first Flash transaction, 10,000 Flash for a haircut.
Wow.
So if that guy held on to his Flash, which I know he has, he's going to be very, very happy. But this is, what's happening is this is almost like a rewards program, because really, if you think about it, with a fixed supply, what happens is the people who build the network get rewarded for it. Who got rewarded for building Visa's network?
I don't
Right?
know. Yeah.
Visa.
Visa. Yeah.
They
Okay.
got rewarded. So this is a way to reward the people who build the network. That's what this is all about. And it's just gratifying to me to see all the support from everybody, and the way that people are using it and putting it into practice.
Awesome. This Flash, it's made by the people for the people. That's great. And what you're doing here is great work here, Chris. Thank you so much.
Well, you're welcome. Thanks to all your viewers, and just come by Discord if you have questions. I try and show up there every day for at least a few hours to answer questions and talk to people.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, and I believe a lot of people don't even know how to do it. So I'll show you guys how to do, how to get into Discord, how to actually install it, things like that. So you guys can also get on and join us. But there's a lot of interesting conversations going on there. All right.
Excellent. Well, I've
Thank,
got to run now, but thanks for your time, and thanks for having me.
all right, Chris. Thank you so much. You have yourself a great one.
Thanks.
Okay.
Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.